Ladies and gentlemen, this is the main event. Fight fans worldwide, you've tuned into the #1 undisputed boxing podcast today. This is the Boxing Breakdown. Now, your heavy-handed, hard-hitting host, Mark Roxey.
Yes, y'all. What's up? And welcome to another edition of the Boxing Breakdown. I'm your host, Mark Roxey, and I am here with two distinguished guests, my friends. I've got Mr. Harold Hunt. What's up, Harold?
What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm doing very, very well, brother. And we also have, I'd like to introduce everyone who's listening out there. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts, thank you for being with us. And I'd like to introduce Ben Roxey, who's with us tonight. What's up, Ben?
What's up? I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man.
It's been a long time coming.
Yes, it has. I'm pumped that you're with us. And as always, Harold, I'm always pumped that you're here. I think this is the perfect weekend. It's Puerto Rican Day weekend in New York, and so happy Puerto Rican Day weekend to all the Boricuas out there. Yes. What's up? And we're doing our own little celebrating around here. And without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to just say, man. I don't know if you got a chance to see the Teofimo López, Joshua Taylor, or Josh Taylor rather. Amazing fight last night on ESPN. It took place in the Hulu Room at the Madison Square Garden in New York City. It was a sold out arena. And man, did you guys get a chance to see any of the fights on the undercard?
Just the one is Xander Zayas, if that's correct pronunciation.
Oh yeah. Xander Zayas he did an amazing job last night. So I'll just go through with that with you guys and just give you guys, for those of you that are tuning in, listening, the opening bout was Bruce Carrington from Brownsville, New York. He fought Luis Porozos, and he TKO'd him in the 8th round, right at the very, very end. I think it was, I want to say there was only 30 seconds left, and the ref just kind of pulled the plug on the fight. I think it was a premature stoppage, but that's what happened, and so. Bruce Carrington advances, in his career, and Luis Porozos took a step back. Omar Rosario fought Philadelphia's own John Carlos Rivera, and it was an outstanding fight. I think John Carlos just really, no disrespect, he just didn't do enough in the fight to win. It went the distance. It was a unanimous decision win for Omar Rosario. And then, the next fight on the undercard was Xander Zayas versus Ronald Cruz. And that was a super welterweight bout as well. Xander Zayas, man, he's really looking good. He cleaned up a lot of the mistakes that he made in his last fight, his last outing. And he just did a tremendous job. I mean, it was a unanimous decision. He fought a very, very rugged Ronald Cruz, who was right there in his face the whole time. But the way he managed the distance and the way that he was able to just, consume Ronald Cruz as Ronald Cruz was coming up in the fight, it was just really a beautiful display of boxing. And I would encourage any of you young fighters who are out there, if you really want to see a fantastic bout and a bout that was technically performed really, really well. Check out that fight with Xander Zayas because he did a great job. And then the next fight on the card, Harold and Ben, was Robson Conseco against Nicholas Polanco. And that fight was a no contest, no decision. I believe what happened is Polanco reached in to throw a right hand or throw some punch, and he ended up hitting his orbital bone / cheekbone. He was knocked out or knocked semi-conscious. The ref stopped it, put him on the stool. They asked him multiple times if he wanted to continue the fight. He said he did. Then he said he didn't. Then his trainer said he didn't. They spoke in Spanish, and they shared that Polanco shared that he was concussed and that he was feeling very dizzy, and thinking that the officials and the inspectors around the ringside wouldn't hear it because it was spoken in Spanish. They heard it, and then they stopped the fight. That's basically what happened. Hopefully I got that pretty right, but yeah, that was a mouthful.
Yeah, the ESPN did not show that. They cut it. It was a 2-hour transmission.
Yeah.
And the only fights they showed was Xander, and they cut what you were speaking of, and went right to, so it appeared seamless that fight never happened. So I have no idea what that was. So that's interesting.
In the second round, it was just stopped. It was a no contest. They just stopped it. There was nothing else to it. It was kind of a bizarre, a really, really bizarre occurrence. I haven't really seen, I wasn't sure if they wanted out early. They might have wanted out early, but I just don't know. But it left me a little dumbfounded, to be honest. And then Kanaibe against Olaguyon, I guess that's how you pronounce it. This was a heavyweight bout, and it went to decision because Ulangyan was, I think he's from Mexico. The guy was so friggin' rugged, man, and he was just staying in there trying to fight the Polish. I think he's Polish, Kanabe. And, there was a lot of criticism, a lot of hoopla around the fight because a lot of the announcers and folks around ringside were kind of saying that Kanabe just didn't really perform to the level that he should have performed. It's the ESPN, or not ESPN, but it's the classic top rank grinder that you go through when you do not perform well. Everybody at ringside, everybody's talking about the fact that, you won, but the performance really sucked. And I think that was kind of the story of the fight. Although he did come off, or meaning Kanaibe did come off with the win. It went 10 rounds, unanimous decision. Henry LeBron against Carlos Ramos went 10 rounds. Henry LeBron won. And then finally we get to the real money and the real guts of this program, people.
The meat and potatoes.
Yes, no pun intended, Ben. The meat and potatoes is we had Teofimo López versus Josh Taylor, man. So Ben, what did you think of the fight? Just your overall impressions of the fight.
I mean, to put it into one sentence, it was a complete domination from Teofimo López. He put on a performance. He demonstrated his skills. He was confident. He was playing around in the ring. His timing, his movement, just beautiful. So great performance by him, especially after a last tough performance. So definitely have a lot of respect for him. I know there's a lot of talk being made now on his name, a lot of discussion because he was the underdog coming into this fight. So I wish I bet.
Yeah, no, I mean, I wish I would have bet too. I mean, I actually was going to, but I figured I better lay off and just in general. But, this is the thing about Teofimo López. And this is what, I held my breath on the last podcast because, Harold, I'm always criticized for always, favoring Teofimo and, being super pumped about Teofimo. And I really wanted to maintain some.
The Teofimo protection plan.
The protection plan. I just kind of wanted to stay a little bit neutral on the whole thing. I already knew what was going to happen. Because see, here's the thing. Teofimo López has power, man. He has... I was listening to the podcast, and those of you that didn't listen to the last podcast, go check it out. We made our predictions. I certainly did. And we talked a little bit about this fight. We also talked about the Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence fight. We went real deep into that. And we really kind of just glanced like the last 5 or 10 minutes, not even, on this fight. Because we wanted to wait until the fight happened so we could really have a breakdown on this fight and really talk about this fight. But, I was just so impressed. I don't even know where to start. There's so much to talk about. 7-time world champion, 2-time Lineal world champion, 2 division world champion, basically he's had 2 opportunities to have 2 Hall of Fame careers already. And the kid's only 25. How old are you, Ben?
I'm 23.
Yeah, man.
Wow.
Think about his accomplishments at 25. It's just phenomenal, Harold.
Yes, it is. But you are laying it on. You got the flowers out and the violins and all that. There is so much other going on with just his record. So first of all, I want to thank this young gentleman here who is here. Thank you so much for being here. Your insight is going to be great because you are your father's son. So thank you for being here. Number 2.
Again, I'm so happy to be here. This is great.
Number 2, Xander Zayas. Just a quick step on what he was doing. It looked great, but he ran out of options. He was like, what's next? I'm doing the combinations. I'm moving correctly. He's not moving. He's not going anywhere. What do I do next? The lack of creativity or being able to change his mode of operation just showed he's a young fighter. He fought like a young fighter. 7th, 8th rounds, he didn't know what to do next. He just went with the same game plan he had, the same combination, the same movement, where he but eventually he'll develop the situation where he'll go to another level. He'll end those fights. He'll close them out because he didn't know. The last 2 rounds, he was in la la land. He said, well, I know this is what I do, so I'm going to do this. His opponent saw that, knew that, and I was with some laymen, some casual fans who don't even know boxing. They said, he's doing the same thing over and over again. So if I saw that, if they saw that, that's what's going on. But, Mark, as we know, he's a young fighter. He's was first 8th rounder. He's like maybe 2 or 3 fights away from going to 10 rounds or whatever. So, his development was good. As you said, he cleaned up a lot of stuff that he needed to clean up. I liked the way he thought, the way he moved or whatever, but he's got to develop. He just simply has to develop on how to end the fight, how to, he doesn't necessarily have to knock him out, but he has to go to another level to be sure that his domination is clear and precise. And I didn't really see that, but he's a young fighter and he's coming along nicely. His history, as Ben stated earlier off the air, he was signed at 20 years old, first youngest top rank ever. And that's spectacular. He will have his chance.
Yeah.
So I was happy to see that. So that's the one thing I had to throw that in, because I love when young fighters, progress, but he was stagnant.
Yeah. Well, no, I want to get back. Listen, bro, I want to get back to the Teofimo fight. I want to go into this fight, man, because first of all, round 1, when they came out, everybody in the arena, I'm sure everybody at home that was watching was going, okay, how is this going to show up? How does Teofimo show up? What is he actually going to do? And, round 1, round 2, I felt like they were pretty even bouts.
Agreed. Yeah.
Pretty even rounds. And I would almost say that Teofimo might have lost. I think he did lose. Some of the judges had Teofimo losing round one. So, in fact, all the judges had Teofimo losing round one. And I don't think he did much better in round two either. I wasn't scoring it because I wanted to really enjoy the fight, right? But he didn't win round two either.
Right. He lost 1 and 2.
Yeah, he lost 1 and 2, and he lost 1 and 2 because he was calibrating and he was looking and he was trying to figure out what was going to happen and how he felt in there. And then, even round 3, I don't really think he won round 3 either. And I'm sure that the judges did not give him round 3 either. The magic began in 4. Because in round 4 is where you could really see there was like an ebb and flow. There was like Teofimo really locked into what was happening. He went into a different gear and you could see him starting to figure it out. And, do you remember that, Harold?
Well, for me, he was like, oh, he can't hurt me.
Right.
He was scared that he could get hit, and he wanted to see if he would be hit by Taylor's straight down the line style.
Right.
Because, he comes from the outside. He comes like this. Taylor's coming straight. So he had to get hit a couple times. He had to see how it was coming, when it was coming. And when he figured out this guy can't even hurt me, that's when he started stepping in and doing what he does. But he was cautious. That was simply it. Yeah. For me, when I saw them in the locker rooms, man, Taylor's eyes were done. He was done. He already knew that he lost. You could see it.
Really?
You could see it in his face, like, hey, wow, I'm in this stage with this guy. I'm home and all that, and my confidence is not there. Then, boom, you go right to Lopez's, situation. His eyes are full of confidence, just staring at you. I got this. And that's exactly what I saw. So even though he lost those 2-3 rounds, it wasn't like, oh, I'm desperate. I got to figure him out. No, he just wanted to see what the power would be. And then, as you know, he swept the rest of the rounds, in my opinion. He just did whatever he wanted to do.
Oh, no, he won every round after that. I mean, he went into Teofimo, kill mode and
domination.
And so, I mean, what were some of the things that you saw as being really pivotal for the fight to have gone Teofimo's way? What were some of the things you guys saw, Ben?
Yeah, off of what you said, Harold, I do want to go back to the confidence because I think that played one of the most important parts in the fight. I don't think if that confidence was there, you would have seen the performance, you would have seen the playfulness, the skills, just the pure concentration that Teofimo had. He had determination in there. And we all know that when you are confident, your performance goes up. You trust your skills. You're able to take more calculated risks. And you could see all of that play out in the 4th round. You could see 4, 5, 6, 7. And I think the confidence came from, of course, his work, his training camp, his determination to win this, to get respect. But also, I think it's really notable to talk about what's going on in his life. Because I think we talk about, oh, this is a great fight. He performed so well. But a lot of pain, I think, he's experiencing right now. And he was, before this fight, more than was talked about, more than we can even imagine, more than people go through in a lifetime. And he's 25 years old, experiencing issues in his family, his relationship. I'm pretty sure he's going through a divorce. Yeah. Which is huge, right before the fight.
Custody, all of that. Just briefly, just to piggyback on what you're saying, the dynamic between him and his father is just we're bordering on a mental health situation because he is so dramatically altered when the father appears in any situation. Mark, we've experienced this when we interviewed the father a couple of times. We know their dynamic is one that's different, and just to see it so clear. But what I will say, if you notice, they kissed each other in the fight. Do you remember that?
Yes. So Harold, just let's talk about that. Let's pause and hit the pause button on this and really kind of look at, we had a recent podcast, I think it was like 3 or 4 podcasts ago, where we were talking pretty succinctly about father and son relationships in boxing. Remember that? And this is another father and son relationship. Well, for those of you that are just casual boxing fans and you do not train, your own kin, you don't understand what is involved in this. So the thing about it, I don't think, whose family dynamic doesn't have a little, if you put it on television, everybody would be made for television with their family dynamics. So That's everybody. Everybody's got a story. Everybody's got a family issue, something going on in their family. Everybody. I think the interesting thing here is that the love that these two individuals have for each other is so deeply set. You cannot understand how deep their bond is for one another. And yes, it is difficult when you have a 25-year-old trying to become a man, trying to make his own sound bites, and you have such a forceful, powerful, smart man in Teofimo Sr., who is also has his whole idea about what's going on. So when, you got to put it into context. They're interviewing him. They're setting him up to talk about things that he shouldn't really be talking about in the lead up to the fight. And they're setting traps for him. For example, talking about his off-color comments related to black fighters with Top Rank, or, his relationship with his wife or whatever. Once they start going down this line, Teofimo Sr. is looking to protect Teofimo from that, his mental, distraction. And so there's a lot more enrooted in what you saw, what they put on the air, that doesn't fully convey what actually is happening with that team. And so, it's difficult to be a father-trainer duo, and it's even more difficult to be at the level that he's at, going into enemy territory, fighting on the B side of a fight for the WBO, title, and really fighting for so much more in and out of the ring. So I just want to say that people don't know what's going on with him, right?
True that. But I'm not disparaging the father at all.
No, I know that.
What he needed to do, because he wasn't necessarily understanding the road he was going down.
Yeah.
No doubt about that. And he was correct to step in and what have you. The only thing I was saying was the situation shouldn't have gotten to that point.
Right.
As in, he needed to step in and then do it on the fly. It should have been something that may have been talked about earlier. These are things that you don't need to talk about, this, that, and the other. Okay. And I looked at Mark Kriegel trying to shut it down and this and that and the other. Right. It just got to a point where the father was totally correct.
Yeah.
The son just wasn't prepped for it.
Right. He wasn't prepped, and he stepped into the room. He stepped into the room, and it became a very awkward situation. They grabbed it on camera.
When I saw a little boy doing something he's supposed to be doing, and his father stuck his head in the room.
Yeah.
That same dynamic is what I saw, because what he was doing, he knew that he shouldn't be necessarily speaking on some of those things.
Right.
He stood up. He stood up, taking like a man and all that, because he was saying, "Dad, chill. I know I'm doing wrong right here." That's how I saw it, and I thought it was beautiful.
I felt that. Go ahead. Sorry, Harold.
The world needs to see that part of it.
Yeah.
Because as you said, we all have that kind of dynamic in our family.
No, absolutely. And I just wanted to echo what you said and just like say a little bit more about it and say that, you know, you could see the protective nature of Senior over Junior, and you could see how Junior was trying to set the record straight because the record had been so warped. And rather than set the record straight at all, they just left it. Right? They just left it. And that was partly because the orchestration of his father, you know, of Senior just saying like, hey, don't talk about it. Let's move on. Let's get on with something else was kind of interesting, crafty. And certainly the sound bites made the fight, you know, again, it sold the fight even more because everybody's thinking Fimo, you know, everybody's thinking, you know, Goldo is gonna basically crack under the pressure. And Ben, what do you?
Yeah, he's in pain. He's not going to be able to focus. He's got this going on in his life, so he's not going to come to the fight really prepared. But I think it had him come to the fight with all the fight in him. He brought the fight. It wasn't really about the size of the fighter or the skills of the fighter in the ring. It was the fight of the fighter. That made the difference. Wow. I believe. I mean, yes, he has skills, and we can get into that. Just phenomenal things to note, but really, truly, it was that fight and just the realness of the things that he's going through, growing up as a man, 25 years old. The crazy things that he's been through in his whole life, and he's still going through with his family. And to just be like, no, I'm done. I'm going to show what is real to the world. And let me show that, Dad. Like, let me show that. Like, stop hiding anything anymore. It was
I agree
like,
with
wow. That. Yeah.
That was beautiful, what you just said. It reminds me of the Kobe Bryant thing when he had to go back and forth to court. Right. He would go to court and get dragged because of whatever was going on. And then he would get on the plane and go play that game. And when he was playing that game, in between those court appearances, he was all world because that was his only area of comfort, of sanctuary. Right. And that's what I saw from Lopez last night. He was comfortable in his sanctuary. He knew there was no way he was going to lose. He wasn't ever going to be hurt, and he was going to do whatever he wanted to do to whoever it was that he was fighting. And that is what I enjoyed the most, the sheer confidence of being in my element. No matter what's going on with the divorce of my dad, this, that doesn't matter. Right. I got round after round to be me. And he just showed that so greatly. So to me, it was great. You know, not great, but he had something to get away from that. And we just got, as Ben just said, a wonderful performance. I mean, he did everything that we've always seen him do on his rise, the wiggle, the move, the jumping. I mean, the skill part, but he did it all. And that was strictly comfort, and I just enjoyed that.
He does so well under pressure. I mean, this is a man that does, like, when the lights are shining and it's brightest, this is when he does his best work. And it's just really remarkable to watch it. I mean, you guys understand, for those of you that are tuning in, by the way, thank you. We want to acknowledge you for being with us. If you're coming to us on YouTube, please do not forget to leave your comments. You can join the chat conversation right now. We're going to pull it up, see if anybody's in the chat room. And yeah, man, thank you for being with us. But, I just thought that the fight was this is one of the most difficult things that a professional pugilist fighter could ever do. And on top of it, he's fighting a world champion. He's coming back. There's so much drama in and out of the ring. And on top of it, he's fighting a southpaw counterpuncher who's known for being an exceptional counterpuncher.
There wasn't much counterpunching that I saw.
Well, I mean, so let's talk about that.
Yeah.
So he took it away from him.
So Teofimo López completely neutralized Josh Taylor's game plan of being the counterpuncher that he is. I mean, I'm not sure that was his only game plan, but the game plan of like, okay, I'm going to counterpunch you because that's what he does. That was completely masterfully, people. It was a master class in counterpunching the counterpuncher. And I think that is the story of that fight, because you could see as we got into 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then of course 9, 10, 11, 12, you could just see the fight it just unraveling. And you could see that Josh Taylor went from, trying to be the aggressor to trying to protect himself, trying to nurse his wounds, to pretty much at the end trying to make sure he didn't get taken out. You could actually see the progression of his thoughts as the fight was going on. They didn't have the answers. And Teofimo understood exactly how to fight the counterpuncher. And beautiful. I mean,
yeah, it reminded me of De La Hoya and Mayweather. Mayweather took that jab away from Oscar, just took it away like, okay, put it back in your pocket because you don't get to use that anymore. Just like that. And that was just because of the feints and what have you. There was no timing. When Josh could not time him, to work as he does with the counter punching, there was no timing. It was too unorthodox. I can't time it. I don't know when it's coming, how it's coming. And when it comes, it hurts me. Right. It hurts me. It makes me really, So when he didn't have any kind of, just me, he didn't have any type of, he couldn't feel it coming at any frequency of any recognizable pace. Then he was like, oh, I have nothing here. I've got to survive, as you said, Mark. And Lopez just teed off on him because he knew he would never be able to time anything that was coming. And it was just, as you said, he just really just took that tool away from that gentleman. And he did it easily. Yeah. After he found that guy couldn't hurt him either,
Hey, Ben,
you have to see that.
You mentioned earlier, so let's speak a little bit about the aggression of Teofimo López and how that cracked Josh Taylor.
Yeah, I think it was actually him pulling Josh Taylor. He pulled Josh Taylor into traps and used his angles to counter. Was quite incredible. And I also think that, he did a lot of aggressive, risky stuff, jumping punches, crazy looping punches. I think also his approach coming from a low angle threw off Josh Taylor. I think we saw a lot of the ref saying, stop pushing down on his head. I don't know if that threw Josh off. Just that constant, stop doing that, another warning. I think that could have also frustrated Josh Taylor because of just the angle and the way that Teofimo was coming in and attacking.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. Some of those punches that he was throwing, some of those uppercuts, the uppercuts that landed, I think it was round 10 or 11, there were a couple of uppercuts that Josh Taylor took that I was thinking, I'm not sure if he's okay. He was staggering around the ring later in the fight. And the thing about Teofimo López is, if you go back to his amateur career, last night was a culmination of all of those years, of all of the struggle, of all of the hard work, of all of the ups and downs inside and out of the ring. It all culminated last night. It all came to a head last night where he finally just kind of said, you know what? I'm going for this. I'm going to do big things. And, he even quoted someone from Walt Disney saying you got to strive for the best. You got to go right to the top. You got to do the extraordinary things because the competition up there is very minimal. There aren't a lot of people up at the top trying to be extraordinary, trying to do things in an extraordinary way. And I thought that was so profound that he quoted that, and that because that was basically what he was doing from the moment the moment the bell rang to the moment, he got his hand raised?
I just saw supreme confidence, man. For him to jump in with some of those punches and those feints and all that, he felt like, I'm not going to be hurt. I can do whatever I want. So he was quick enough and in shape enough and mentally tough enough to do everything perfectly. All the unorthodox stuff that he does speaks to his success. He did all of that. And Mark, you don't lead with a uppercut. I mean, certain things, you just don't do, right?
Yeah.
But he's able to do that kind of thing because of the supreme confidence.
Yeah. Well, he turned that Joe Frazier looping hook into a Joe Frazier looping jab, and he landed it, and it was unbelievable to watch. I mean, some of the dexterity and some of the gymnastics that Teofimo uses in the ring. He's sometimes in the hottest part of the round. He's in the hardest and the most hottest area of the ring, meaning right at the mark, right up in the zone, and he's catching power shots. He's catching hooks and coming back with counters. It's just really impressive to look at, man. But I wanted to ask you, Ben. So the judges last night, the scores were 117 to 111. And then two of the judges had the score 115 to 113. And which I really didn't, I don't even know. And we're going to get to Harold in a second, but Ben, I wonder if you could just give us a little reflection on what you think about those scores.
I don't understand. What did you say? It was 115 to 113?
Yeah, they had the fight so much closer. And then the one judge, the logical judge, had the score 117 to 111, which I think was actually the score. What did you think of that score?
I would lean towards the 117, 111. I don't know what fight they were watching.
Yeah.
I mean, I can see that Teofimo was getting hit with shots, but he was getting hit with shots, and I think he just kept coming. Right. He almost made Josh Taylor look so weak because of the way he was taking these punches. He would take it and then throw 2, 3, connect, and they would hurt Josh a little bit. You would see him stumble back. You would see him like, whoa, what did I just get hit with? While, Teofimo gets cracked right in the face, and he's, that's fine, okay. I'm ready for the next one. Let's keep it coming, come on. And do some funny little showboating, and just the dynamic of the fight. I couldn't see that score 113 to 111. I mean, there's always
113, 115. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. There's always some politics too, behind boxing, as we know, some corruptness, I think, to just put it out there. We all know that there's some things behind the table, and maybe that judge was swayed in a way. Maybe he favored Josh Taylor. Maybe there was some money out there. I mean, those are some things that aren't really spoken about often, but I think they exist in the world of boxing. I think not to bring up a whole other fight here, but I think we just saw that pretty recently in a fight, Lomachenko. So again, Devin Haney, Lomachenko, that was a fight that you could look at and say, what were they looking at? What fight were they watching? Or was it something else that we're not aware of, it's out of the fighter's control? Right. So that's why putting on a demonstration like Teofimo and completely dominating the fight, dominating the fight, no question about it, is what sometimes is or always necessary in a fight, because there can't be a question. You can't get to the last round and have such a close score, because then you leave it up to the judges. So that's my thoughts about that.
Yeah, no, well said, Ben Roxey. That was well said. I mean, I think for the first, this is basically the second time in Teofimo's young career. He's only 25. And this is the second time that he's had the pleasure of taking titles off of the Lineal, undefeated, undisputed, which is actually debatable, but undisputed world champion. And hearing that, having that be said 2 times in his career, I mean, you got to give him the props and the cred where the cred is due. I mean, if anybody out there that's a fighter that's listening to the podcast, if you ever get in a position where you've achieved that, you've achieved something that's pretty remarkable. I mean, you got to take your hats off to what he was able to accomplish last night. And also let's give a little shout out to the other members on the team, because we know it doesn't just take one fighter, that there's a whole team behind Teofimo López, and the team did an amazing job. Teofimo Sr. did an amazing job. I think there could be coach of the year again, man, in his future, depending on how things go. And that brings me to the next part of this conversation. So I don't know if you heard the soundbite in the post conference where Teofimo was being interviewed by the press, and the press basically asked, what's next? And he says, man, I'm done. I'm going into retirement. And everybody kind of gasped. What? Like they thought he was joking. I'm going into retirement. And someone said, what are you talking about? Why? He goes, man, they paid me $1 million for this fight. Right. And I'm done, man. I'm retiring. And then I saw today, coming across the wire everywhere, Teofimo López has announced his retirement from boxing on social media after his win over the WBO lightweight welterweight champion Josh Taylor last Saturday night at Madison Square Garden in New York. It's everywhere. It's like the fires that just hit the Northeast. It's everywhere.
You gotta let me speak on that.
Talk to me, Harold.
It's beautiful. Well done. Has he a publicist or a marketing person, or he's just savvy like that? It's beautiful. Of course, say that. Why not? When Ali beat somebody, he said, I'm a Muslim the next day. Rocked the world, crushed the world, right? When he came back, his money, what he was paid, his prestige, his power was heightened ridiculously, right. If that's a word. Ben, you've got the college degree. But what I'm saying is, going forward, he will in fact come back. He'll be offered crazy opportunities to fight. Right now, it's a beautiful narrative. Oh, we're shocked. He's quitting. Oh, what did he say in the ring? My next fight is in courts to get my son back, and all of that.
Yeah.
Right? Wow. I mean, it was just a whole lot, and it's just the casuals. Everyone who's really not into boxing are going to migrate to this kid, man.
Right.
He has the narrative. He's got the mental health thing, or whatever you want to say. He's got the thing with the father. He's got his own situation. You've got the divorce thing. You got the kid thing. We all know his history. He bought the house for his family.
Right.
He met the girl on the airline. Right. We know all that. His family shunned. We know all of that.
Yeah.
And that's just a beautiful narrative. Well, for the public. So I see him coming back. I see him dominating
Absolutely.
140. Mm-hmm. I see him unifying all the belts at 140. I see him being the cash cow at 140. I see Haney saying, I don't want none. That's what I see.
What do you think, Ben?
After that fight, if I were Haney, and after seeing his last performance, I mean, I wouldn't want any smoke.
Yeah.
I'd like to see what Haney has to say about fighting Teofimo after that fight. After Haney watches that fight.
Well, actually, so let's talk about that. I mean, let's get into that. We're kind of digressing into a different area of the podcast, but I mean, that is exactly what happened, because Devin Haney started blowing up. Well, first of all, Devin Haney's trainer and father, and Teofimo López's trainer and father, had a very, very interesting exchange post-fight where they were going at it for the media for obvious reasons. And they were like, we'll fight you. We're ready to fight you now. We'll make that the next fight, but it's not going to be for anything less than $20 million. And Haney was like, you heard that, it's $20 million. You guys want to make the fight? It's $20 million each or something like that. So these guys, these consummate professionals, and these two gentlemen know how to get the money. They know where to get the money, and they know how to build their fighters, both of them. And I thought it was just really, really ingenious. I think there is a chance we could see a Haney Lopez fight. It makes perfect sense. But I think there have been some naysayers, if you will. If you're Teofimo, you'd call them naysayers, saying that, Teofimo is not technically, you can't really say he's undisputed because he hasn't fought anybody in the division. Right? He hasn't fought the guys that he has to fight, like Regis Prograis, Rolando Romero, and Subrayal Matisai. And you know that I'm a big fan of Subrayal. I've been talking about him for a while. But they're saying, you want to be a lineal world champion, undisputed, you got to fight these guys. You got one belt. You got the WBO. You beat Josh Taylor. And Josh Taylor just happened to have those other belts, but they're saying, I'm not saying, they're saying that you're not really undisputed. You want to be undisputed, you got to fight these guys. Thoughts, Ben?
I get that. What about who's the cash cow? Ben, you go first.
I mean, that's tough to say. I don't even know if he's gonna come back to fight these other fighters. He said that he wants to retire. I agree with you, Harold. I don't think he's going to stay into retirement. I think that's a very good play by him for a lot of different reasons. I think it'll bring a lot of attention. And like you said, his story is what movies are made of. So I think he will be back. I think there could be a possibility that he's going to come back for these other fighters. And he's going to want it all. I think he just has a lot he's dealing with in his life right now that he needs to get cleaned up before he comes back to the next fight. Who do you think the next fight is going to be with?
Well, cash cow. Who generates butts in the seats? Who generates the money? Who? Not Haney. Nope.
You don't think so? Not Teofimo and Haney?
No, I don't see that. I see that has to be developed. Go take Rolly's belt.
Sure.
Mark, your favorite fighter, he can't bust a grape right now. Of course, you know his style. He's popular. He can fight, but he can't sell any tickets. So Haney needs to go beat one of those guys, develop himself at that level, then maybe they can get together and make the money. Right now, I don't see that. So I see a collection process going on. Let me go take Rolly's belt. One of them take Rolly's belt. That kind of thing. And then they can generate it. I just don't see them doing anything right now. Now, of course, we got Garcia trying to go get Rolly's belt first. And if Garcia gets Rolly's belt, then you have someone who can drive that pay-per-view. And then either one of those guys can plug in. You can plug in Lopez. You can plug in Haney. However, the money's going to be generated and the interest being generated by Garcia if he gets a chance to take Rolly's belt first. So that's what we have to see. Who's going to take Rolly's belt first? Who's going to come in there and make everybody else money? And Garcia can make everybody else money at that level. Haney can't do it. And our boy Lopez can't do it yet, but he may with all what he's trying to do. So I'm excited about who's going to come in there, who's going to cause the public to focus on that. As far as skills concerned, yes, Mark, your guy that you like, I can't pronounce his name, he's the truth.
Yeah,
I think
Subrayal.
He beats everybody
Matias.
but he beats everybody but Lopez.
Yeah. So okay, Harold, listen to this. So, I mean, I think that Teofimo has tons of options right now. I think after last night's, colossal, triumphant victory, right, over a very, very game and skillful Josh Taylor. I think that, you know, there could be a Lomachenko rematch. There could be a Kambosos rematch. There could be a lot of fights coming down the pike. I mean, Haney, you know, they could definitely fight. You know, I think there's options. I mean, Haney wants to go to 140. I think it can happen. So for me, I think that there's a Gervonta Davis scenario that could play out there. I think there's a lot of options here, but I do think that, you know, Teofimo and the team will probably go for the biggest money. And because I mean, as you said, I mean, for Teofimo to get $1 million for this last fight, if that was the number, and we're going to find out because it's going to come, you know, we're going to know that because I'm trying to get Lopez Sr. on the podcast. And there's a couple of other meetings I'm going to have that may divulge that information. Just
make sure he has good connection this time.
Yeah. Okay.
But to say that was the best podcast to date.
Yeah. So Benjamin's referring to Harold, the podcast that we did with Teofimo Sr., where he was in his car. He had just been coming home late. It was late at night. He was coming home from training. And, you know, the podcast, the audio was
animated.
It was
animated.
That's a good word for it. Animated. Nice. So we're going to leave that. We're going to leave that as animated, but it was definitely, it's one of the most viewed podcasts that we have, along with our, you know, the Life of a Cut Man with Vic Starata. That's also another really popular podcast. Also, the podcast with, you know, WBC champion
James Toney.
James Toney, man. James Toney. You know, it's interesting because I actually wanted to comment on that because Bruce Carrington, last night, I mentioned that at the top of the program. Bruce Carrington fought a lot like James Toney. There were some glimmers in his skill sets that reminded me of James Toney. So shout out Bruce Carrington, because some of the stuff you were doing, you know, I could see the work. I could see your study, your film study and otherwise, you know, from the way that you were fighting. But yeah, James Toney, that's one of the most popular podcasts as well. But we have so many. We're coming on, I think, 97 podcasts. We're going to be having our 100th anniversary coming up pretty soon. So y'all will not want to miss the 100th episode. That's going to be a huge... We got to work on that, you guys. That's going to be a huge podcast. I'm excited about that. But anyway.
Okay. I got to go back to financials.
Yeah,
okay?
Let's go.
Clarissa got $1 million.
Yeah.
And he got $1 million.
Yeah.
Yes, I would have something to say about that. But you got to look at it. They had him in the small room.
Yeah.
It was on ESPN.
Yeah. So small room was sold out, by the way. And the reason they couldn't get, Top Rank couldn't get the big room. They couldn't get the big room because they had other activities taking place in the big room, and they forced them in the small room, which was, by the way, sold out.
Okay, that makes sense. But the world don't know and don't care about that. All they see is what? He's in the small room.
Right.
They don't know the particulars or why or who or what. They just know, if you're all that, why are you in the small room? Yes, it's valid why he was in the small room. But the point was, he was in the small room, and that's how it looks.
Right.
That, you know, he didn't get whatever. And then he went on and said, I only made $1 million. And he's crying. So all of that is just going to force him to get what he deserves, and which I believe. And I'm glad he was able to do that.
Right.
Now, if he had been walking out with his father right there, he may have not done that. He may have not done that. He may have not held court right there.
Right.
I mean, how often do you see them hold court right there? Right there. Most of the time you have to go out, Mark. You know that. You have to go out. You can't stay in the walkway. You have to go out because you got, you know how it goes, Mark. They allowed him to stay there and do that. Yeah. And the inspector was there saying, come on, you got to go. And he just stood there and continued to talk to the press. So that's uncharacteristic. But all that just goes to show that he is so unorthodox. He's going to get the attention. He's going to get that. But he deserves more money. No doubt about that.
Doubt.
He does.
Yeah.
He sure does. And how many pay-per-views has he had?
Oh, he's had who? Teofimo?
Has he had any?
I think I thought the Vasily Lomachenko was a pay-per-view, no?
No, it wasn't.
It wasn't?
It was the pandemic. Remember, there was no pay-per-view. So he hasn't even had a pay-per-view. Right?
Wow.
But I think his cachet going into his first pay-per-view is going to be so valid just because of all the story.
Oh, it's going to be a movie for sure. And my thing is, there's so much to talk about Teofimo. He gives the paparazzi, if you will, the boxing media, so much fodder. I mean, you could go on and on about all the things that he puts out there for the media to consume, and it's really, really brilliant how he does that. Ben, I just, what are your thoughts about that? You're into all the social media and the whole influencer world. We know that Teofimo is huge on social media, but also, what do you think about his way of interacting with the media?
Yeah, so on the first, to comment on how he is on social media, I think he really capitalizes on social media and his presence and to present himself. I think he's as real and raw as it gets, which I think comes through in everything that he puts out into the world, everything that his father puts out. And I think that's something that's really relatable for a lot of people. Being even a person that it's sometimes challenging to relate to somebody who is so different and has gone through so many different things that we can't even relate to. But he is so authentic and real, and he works with a lot of brands. I think he walked out with Disney on his robe as a sponsor.
Yeah, he did.
So I think that's incredible. And I think his presence and his realness and his authenticity in the boxing world is something that's going to gain a lot of attention. It's going to gain a lot of attention from the press. They're going to eat that up. People are going to want to see him fight more and more. And I think ultimately that's going to help him make more money and elevate his career. If he can continue to stay focused and stay strong with his team, with his father, and keep going, I think that is super huge. And social media these days is really big for fighters because that's ultimately how you're going to sell tickets. I think everybody is on social media in some way or not. Harold, are you on social media?
No, I can't be just because I'm a judge, so I can't so biased, but I do pay attention to it. Okay. And yes, I get that. Bud Light must have dropped on him his entire purse plus more.
Sure, you think?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I'm just being facetious, but I'm saying, as Ben said, he has some great endorsement deals, and that one was really prevalent because that had stayed on the whole time. It just did, and it was front and center. So I'm just happy that Ben on social media, as you said, which I don't follow, that he has a great presence. And do you think that he put that together, or do you think just that's the nature of social media to be as Trump used social media? Is it basic movement, or it is something that you think about and you put it out there in a way that gets the most likes or attention?
See, I think a lot of people think about it in that way. Think about it in a strategic business way. How can I get the most attention? How can I get the most following, get the most reactions, get the most likes? And side note, if you haven't liked, subscribed, commented, do that right now on this podcast. Or you'll have bad dreams for the next 3 years of your life. So do it right now. But it is, I think, and what makes him so different, like I said, is that he's authentic. And I think that's something nowadays, because the world of social media can be so fake. You can edit what you're going to put out there, put out something that's not even who you are, who you identify as. You don't even see yourself as this person, but you want the world to see you as a certain person. So that's who you put out into the world. Whereas I see Teofimo being so real, raw, and putting out sometimes things that you're like, your jaw is on the floor. Holy crap. Like, did he just say that? What? Did his father just say that? Did he just say stop being a to his father, like on camera. So he puts out what is real. And I think that brings a lot of attention to him. I think I respect him for that in a world that we live in, a lot of people are trying to be someone who they're not. And to just be so grounded with who he is something really remarkable. So I think it's going to do him wonders to continue to be him.
You see him flip the finger before the fight on the camera in the locker room?
Yeah.
Hey,
I mean, the people I was with was like, oh my God, oh. But boy, they were riveted.
Yes.
People were calling me. They were riveted. It was like, who's this disrespectful, whatever. He's just beautiful. I mean, like you said, he's authentic. He's going to be himself.
Yo, and he reminds me, of course he's from Brooklyn, right? But he reminds me of, if you go back, you'd have to be a long time, you have to be in boxing a long time to know what I'm referring to here. But Mike Tyson had a very, very similar way of being with the media. He was very much more aggressive, physically aggressive with the media, and aggressive in and out of the ring when he was younger, but he drew the same kind of following from the media. The same kind of attention was placed on Mike Tyson when he was a young Mike Tyson that you're seeing starting to happen now here with Teofimo coming, literally rising out of the ashes. Rising out of the ashes.
He's trying to act that way, and he doesn't have it. He's trying to do that, and he doesn't have it. He just doesn't have that kind of charisma or personality or projection. He just doesn't have it.
Well, he doesn't have that kind of story either. I mean, clearly, we as a consuming public, especially consuming boxing, we are always going to go for the flawed character. We are always going to go for the guy. We're rooting for the underdog. We're rooting for the guy to find his way back. How do I crawl out of the ashes and find my way back? And we identify and we see in his work the frustration of like the middle finger popping up and just the frustration of being so authentic in life and having your life being displayed, like real life being displayed for the world to see. We root for that. This is when boxing is at its best, and it's always been that way. And so I think he's in the right time, the right place at the right time. And Harold, I got to tell you, the takeover took over. The takeover last night. He took over, baby. He did it. And, I normally don't, I'm not that, pro any one particular fighter, but the only other guy that I cheer for as much as Teofimo is obviously Mike Tyson.
Yes. I was about to say, if you mess that up, well, you've been taking shots or something, because I know Tyson is your boy. Yes. And Lopez is your other boy.
Yeah. And you know why? I mean, you can see the world got to see why this guy is so real last night, when the takeover took over. He did it, man. He took over. And so, Harold, you guys want to say anything else about this topic here before we I
do. Quickly.
Go ahead.
Remember I said last week that when you fight Lopez, he hurts your body?
Yeah.
He hurts you?
Yeah.
He hurts you. He hurt that guy.
Yeah.
He's hurt. I mean, he is hurt. I mean, he took some vicious punches that were just very powerful and very jolting. And that's something I like about Lopez. He hurts his opposition. He hurts them.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt. No, you're right. I mean, it'll be interesting to see what happens. It's interesting because when I saw that Teofimo López had announced that he's retiring, I'm thinking to myself, wait. You don't mean Teofimo, you mean Josh Taylor, right? Because I'm thinking Josh Taylor looked like a defeated fighter, like it was over for him last night. And no disrespect, I'm just saying when the headline comes out that Teofimo announces his retirement, right? And we know there's something to this because he hasn't vacated the WBO or the Ring Magazine belts. He hasn't given those belts up yet. So, let's see what happens. I mean, it's still fresh news. I mean, this is Sunday. The fight just happened, Saturday, yesterday. And we're like 12 hours, removed from the fight, So there's a lot to come down the pike. I'm sure this week the media, it's just going to blow up, guys. So you definitely want to stay tuned for what's coming down the road. And with that, there are a lot of things coming down the road, people. There are. The boxing schedule is, there's interesting things happening. So if we start here, we've got Costa Tszyu. He's going to fight Ocampos on Showtime on June 17th. Progress goes against Zorrilla on DAZN on June 17th, 9 p.m. Carlos Adamai, which I've had the pleasure of sparring that young man. He's pretty intense. Carlos Adamai versus J-Rock Williams on Showtime. Going to be another good match. Marshall versus Francois Cruz on DAZN. That's going to be on Sky Sports. And July 1st, Smith versus Maxwell. Anderson versus Kobaskansky on ESPN Plus. We got Ortiz versus Stanciones on DAZN. Kelly versus Corzo on DAZN. Alicia Baumgardner is going to be squaring off against Linda Outout. How do you say her name? I don't know. Linda Dautuch on DAZN.
Hey, you got it.
I just blew her name out. I apologize. Sorry about that, but I do know Alicia Baumgardner. Kambosos is Jr. is going against Hughes and Inoue, and this is the fight, folks, that I'm really excited about. Inoue is going against cool boy Stephen Fulton on ESPN Plus, July 25th, 9 p.m. And then, jumping around here, I got Errol Spence Jr. versus Terrence Crawford, Showtime pay-per-view, July 29th. Navarrete versus Lopez, and Betterby versus Smith on August 19th. So we've got an action-packed summer lining up, Ben and Harold, and it's just going to be absolutely incredible. So, with that being said, man, I want everybody, if you're tuning in, thank you for being with us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. If you're tuning in on YouTube, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and smash those notifications so you know when we are going live. And I want to thank you, Ben Roxey, for being on the program. I definitely want to thank you, Harold, for always being here and adding the most amazing color to the program. And you always have a great insight on what's going on. And and thank you, folks, for being with us. Without further ado, I want to thank you, and we'll catch you guys on the next episode of the Boxing Breakdown. Peace and love.
Peace.
Yes.
See you when I see you.
Ride us out here, y'all.
Fight fans, join host Mark Roxey and special guests as they break down all aspects of the boxing world, including news, business, management, training, promotions, fan reactions, upcoming events, matchups, future boxing stars, title fights, state of the boxing world, and all the stuff you don't see when you watch boxing. This podcast is released each week on Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Live streamed on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook Live. It's the Boxing Breakdown, hosted by Mark Roxey.